Hello everyone, my name's FlareBlitzed and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Which one of these lovely two ladies will we have the honour of having the roots this time around? Well, the clue is probably within the title of the video itself, but I've yet to discover it within this until future me knows which one it is. Hanako moves to Lily's side and we venture onto the school's corridors. We are mid-festivals. But we are going to the Shanghai, which is presumably going to be very, very quiet because the majority of the population of the town is within the school festival. The pair leads me through a series of unfamiliar doors and we emerge on the side of the building opposite of the festival grounds. Of all the visual novels I've played, this is definitely one of my top 5 favourites. Insulated by the heavy stone of the building, the noise from the crowd has faded to a murmur. Strange. I thought that most people would be beginning to leave by now. They're probably here to view the fireworks. Fireworks? Yes, apparently the school puts on quite a show. A lot of people come from town just to watch them. Lee's decision to leave the school grounds seems to make sense now. Hanako would probably have a hard time with the whole town descending onto the school, or ascending, as the case may be, exactly coming from the school, or going from the school to where they're going. For the second time since arriving at Yamako, I find myself walking down this road with Lily. Only now can I barely hear the insolent noise of the festival do I realise how loud it was. I can hear my ears ringing slightly in the still evening air as they recover from the day's assault on them. Hanako clings to Lily but still manages to guide her along the road. That and avoiding the occasional glare from curious pedestrians appears to completely sap her constitution. She rarely raises her focus on the ground in front of her, nor does she utter a word. Lily, on the other hand, maintains her prime and proper persona just as she does in school. It's obvious she purposely puts effort into her appearance, rather than hiding it as Hanako does. It's striking how different they are in their own way of holding themselves outside of Yamako grounds. That said, it's obvious in both their cases that they do visibly change. Inside Yamako, everyone is special, which negates the specialness of it. But once we venture outside the school gates, we are returned to the status of outsider and generic labels, especially when we are still in school uniform. It's like hanging a sign around your neck challenging people to figure out what is wrong with you. I'm surprised that so many of the students keep it on. Then again, with canes and wheelchairs common among the students, I guess it's not really that much of a giveaway. I suppose it's not incorrect if I say among the school. Or maybe I'm the only one that sees this as a stigma. Get the stigma out of you so that we can normalize these kind of things and ensure that they are not a factor at all of something to point at, but allow it to be something which we can just get used to. Maybe we can get used to it after a time, like any other school uniform. The tea house seems fairly standard from the outside, just an ordinary building with typical signs decorating the entrance. It looks like the type of place you'd walk by without thought, just another generic cafe in a sea of thousands. If Hanako hadn't steered Lily into the entrance, I would have continued on down the road without ever knowing that it existed. Inside the tea house, it takes on a more traditional feel. Everything seems to have been made from the same lump of timber, from the counter and benches to the high-backed booths around the wall. But the most striking feature of the room is the lack of life. I think I can faintly hear something bubbling away in the background, but otherwise the room is silent. Without any direction, we simply wait near the entrance, politely obeying the "please wait to be seated" sign. Is this place closed or something? Well, it wouldn't have been opened if it was locked. Oh gosh, the sound of a chair falling over echoes throughout the empty room and a head shoots up from the inside a booth. I wasn't asleep and welcome to the Shanghai. That means you was asleep. Yuko, dressed in a pastoral apron and clenches a menu, rushed to greet us. Her misaligned glasses and ruffled hair cast suspicion on her previous statement. So you was asleep. When you say you're not asleep, out of the middle of nowhere, that means you were asleep. But whether she was asleep or not isn't the first question that leaps to my mind. You work here now? What happened to the library? She has 2 jobs. What? Lily? Hisao? Welcome to the Shanghai. Hello. Yuko's still waking up, jerks into a violent bow, dislodging her glasses in the process. My glasses! As I pick up her spectacles off the floor, Lily offers an explanation. Hello. Yuko works here part-time as well as at the library. It's one of the reasons we like to come here. Aha! Yuko takes her glasses from my hands, shakily putting them back on. Yes, that's right. Thanks. Shall I show you to your table? There's no one else here, so you can choose your table and order whatever you like, but there may be a delay as I'll have to make it myself. That's alright, Yuko. Just a pot of black tea and a plate of sandwiches will be fine. Right, I'll get right onto that. Yuko hurries off to the back of the cafe, leaving us still standing at the entrance. She pushes the swinging half doors open before realizing that she hasn't seated us. I'm sorry, please seat wherever you like, I'll be right back. We need to signal whenever she is out with our stuff. Following her advice, I lead Lily to the nearest booth as Hanako follows. As I begin to sit next to Lily, I realize how appropriate this place is for Hanako. The high-backed booths totally separate you from the rest of the room, and it doesn't look like it gets all that many customers. All of the furnishings, from the cushions on the benches to the condiment holders, look dated but aren't overly worn. I wonder if Lily deliberately selects places like this to take Hanako. She seems like the type that would go to lengths to cater to Hanako's unique predicament. Unique predicament is a very unique way of putting it. So, Hisao, I didn't know you play chess. Well, not very well, but I do know how to play. I suppose the obvious question would be, who won? Lily's innocent smile makes me hesitate. I don't really want to look like I'm lording my own victory over Hanako. You're not lording as long as you're not shameful in victory. There's been shameful in defeat, but there's been shameful in victory, which is smugging at your opponent when you're victorious, rubbing it in their faces that you won and they didn't. Hisao did. Yes, but not by much. I think by the sound of it, it sounded like several pieces surrounded her king. Damn, saying that out loud makes me feel like I've done something terrible. Well done, Hisao. You've accomplished something I've only ever failed at. Thanks. I haven't played in ages, so it felt good to play again. Yes, it did. Hanako fidgets with her hair a little and looks away as she replies, but a small smile emerges. It's a little more extreme of a reaction than I expected, but still kind of cute in that Hanako way. It throws me a little off guard, and only Yuko's cataclysmic re-entry shocks me back into conversation. Are you alright, Yuko? Do you need a hand? I'm fine. I have to do this properly, it's my job. There was nothing wrong with having a little bit of assistance every now and then. Concentration plays across her face while she stares at the tray in her hands, as if simply looking at its contents will hold them in place. Sadly, this doesn't prove all that effective. The cups and saucers slowly dance around, occasionally clattering as they collide with one another. Yuko, concentrate on the job. Don't concentrate about the what-ifs, okay? Taking great care, Yuko sits the tray down on the table with only the subtlest of crashes. There, see? Well done? Do you have to question that? Thank you, Yuko. Yuko's head rockets downwards in her distinctive bow before answering. You're very welcome. Would you like to join us? There's something else I'd like to discuss about that recent order, if I may. Ah, that's right, Lily and Yuko were discussing a pile of books when I first met Hanako. Something about Lily helping with the braille? Ah, yes, we didn't get the chance to go through them, did we? Yuko hastily sits down next to Hanako. Apparently her dedication to this job only goes as far as her concentration. Once it is broken, she suddenly loses it. I'll be in the library tomorrow afternoon if you'd like to try again. That sounds perfect. I'll meet you there after classes. Lily? Oh dear, that's right. Tomorrow's Monday. How could I have forgotten? I'm starting to feel a little left out of the loop. Then again, that's to be expected. I've been here for barely a week, so it's impossible to know everyone's schedule. Well, perhaps we can come to some other arrangement? Yuko, will you be in the library later in the week? Maybe, but this is already overdue. There are some things I need? This might be a problem. Lily ponders for a second before discovering the answer. I wonder, might we be able to enlist the help of another if need be? Are you referring to Hisao? Because our schedule is fully booked up, unfortunately. I'm just kidding. To do what? You lost me quite some time ago. Yeah, we're back. We're still back at the school while you lot are still here in the greenhouse. The tea house. Being volunteered for something without even having the slightest idea what is going on isn't really my thing. I prefer to be kept, preferably in the loop. And here I thought I had finally escaped the clutches of the student council and their repeated attempts to recruit me. Oh, of course, the other day I was helping Yuko sort the new Braille books in the library. But Hanako and I usually go shopping on Monday afternoons. It's quieter on that day than on weekends. Last week couldn't go because I was busy with a festival. I managed to slip away later in the week, but Hanako couldn't make it. Well, since I can't read Braille, I'm assuming you'd like me to go shopping with Hanako? Correct. You were a great help to me the other day. I think I can handle that. Hanako, what do you think? If you wouldn't mind. Of course not. I'm still not familiar with all the stores in the area, so it sounds like a good idea. Okay. Now that we have that arranged, shall we have some tea? It's now that I realise our tea have been sitting idly by all this time, getting no hotter, which is a sign of it getting colder. It's my fault. Let me pour that for you. Well, it's better than it being poured than us just talking here, because once you separate liquid, which is initially hot, then it is much easier for it to get cooler over a shorter period of time. It's alright, I've got it. Since you've already made the tea and sandwiches, you fulfilled your waitress duties, right? Wow. I guess. Yuko relaxes a little, but still watches eagerly as I share out the assortment. As I'm about to bite into a sandwich, a low, loud rumble can be heard, along with a flash of the light from us. Ah, it's the fireworks. Ah, I take it the show has started. Only now looking outside I realise that dusk has come and gone, leaving us in peak of twilight. Sparking traces arc upwards, ready to explode in the floral shapes of fireworks. Let's go watch. Sorry, Lily. Please don't miss the show on my account. For what I've heard, this isn't a bad location to watch them from. Aha! With the exception of Lily, we rush to the window of the small tea house to watch the show. Where's our dear protagonist in all of this? The strobe of coloured lights plays across Hanako and Yuko's smiling faces, and for a second I forgot to look out the window. In this totally new world, there are a few things that don't change. I think that's why the school makes such a fuss over this festival. It's a chance to show the similarities between everyone. Exactly. The show is over all too quickly. Fireworks are expensive, even for the most well-funded schools. Fireworks are just expensive in general. Before we return to our tea and sandwiches, Hanako turns to me. Thanks for today. Ah, my pleasure, Hanako. And tomorrow. That's okay. I don't think that I could have faced these crowds either. On days like this, it's more relaxing to spend some time away from everyone. Don't you think? Yeah. Anyway, we've been delaying this tea for far too long now. Let's get back. Sure. Stop smiling like that, it's too innocent. And we return to the booth and our light meal. That sounded impressive. Bigger than last year's, at least. Yeah, it was great. I've never seen them put on such a show. It gets better every year. I'm afraid, however, that during that time the tea has gone cold. Oh no, let me make some more. This is my fault. Calm down, Yuko. It's nobody's fault. It's everyone's fault, including yours. I take a sip from my cup just to prove a point. This tea isn't too bad cold. Anyway, it's like an iced tea. No, there's a difference between iced tea and regular tea. Iced tea is meant to be cold. Really? Yes, really. If you add a bit of sugar, it's kind of nice. Are you sure? I'm positive. Now, why don't you sit down and we'll finish this together? Okay. Yuko doesn't seem convinced but sits down regardless. She carefully manages out about 5 teaspoons of sugar and adds them to her tea. I said a bit of sugar, not 5 teaspoons. I know, but I like my tea sweet anyway. Curiously, I peer into her cup. As expected, hardly any of the sugar dissolves in the cold liquid. She stirs it twice before upturning the cup and drinking the contents, sugar and all. Would you like some tea with that sugar? The ordering is what's most humorous. And in a single mouthful. You're right, that's not bad at all. Good. I look back to Lily and Hanako, both of whom have finished their meal as I witness Yuko's personality in action. Not wanting to hold anyone up, I use her tactic and finish the remainder of my tea in a single swill. Well then, it seems we're all finished. Should we head back now, or do we want seconds? Yuko's expression shows that this is quite clearly not a good idea. I think that it would be best if we got back soon. We do have to get back before curfew after all. Oh, that is a good point. I'll meet you tomorrow, Yuko. I'll be looking forward to it. Lily, goodbye everyone. Goodbye as well, and thank you. We'll make our way out of a small tea house and into the dark of the night. Lily and Hanako once again take point, but under the cover of darkness, Hanako seems slightly less stressed than she did on the trip here. And then we get to a lamppost, and then it looks like it's an all-revealing scenario, which is no good. Like if clouds are overhead, it makes her probably minutely less stress. Okay, we move against the occasional group of people entering the school grounds, but Hanako seems to lead us along a few minor roads, avoiding the bulk of the crowd. Outside the dorms, the school seems strangely quiet when compared to the noise of the day. Well then, thank you both for today. I think I learned a lot. You're most welcome, but I'm afraid that I must really be going. Today's been a long day. That's right, Lee spent all of the day on her feet, and I can imagine that walking outside of the school would be pretty tiring for her. I feel a pain of guilt as I remember that I was probably the only one in the school that got up around 10 this morning. Sure thing. Well, I'll see you both tomorrow. Good night. Good night, Hisao. Night. The girls returned to their dorm and I to mine. Actually, now that I consider it, today totally tired me out as well. With all the festivities. Okay. This is vastly different from other animations. Oh. Yeah, that is... This is definitely vastly different. As in walk together. We walk together. We climb together. We read together. Aww. Oh, that's sweet. In a way. Like, it's really saddening to see, but also really sweet in that regard. Oh gosh, Act 2 hide and seek. Damn. She really is quite afraid after all. Oh gosh, the alarm clock. My alarm blares in my ears, only to be swiftly silenced by my fist. Unlike the other characters, I doubt the other two know where we are when it comes to the dormitories. My body switches into auto mode, carrying my subconscious self out of bed and into my uniform. As always, my bottle of pills sit on my desk, patiently waiting for me to take them and pick up my daily dose of medicine. 17 pills a day, yikes. That was more pills than my grandfather took. Before I know it, I'm opening the door to class 330, glad to see that I'm not the only one who seems to be a little hungover from festival weekend. I think we've already been through this scenario, but I just know we have not. Every face in the classroom looks gaunt. With the festival now over, it's as if everyone's life dreams have been achieved. With nothing left to live for, the students have relayed on instincts alone to guide them to class. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Or it could possibly be both. I'm not too sure. I slowly make my way to my seat, and it's only then that I realise why the room is so peaceful. The seats beside mine are blissfully empty. The world's loudest interpreter for the deaf has yet to arrive. The world's loudest interpreter. And just I'm about to sit down, the door flies open, revealing a resplendent Misha, drills bobbling from the dramatic entrance and arms stretched towards the sky, possibly trying to give someone a hug. Yo-ho, it's all over. It would appear that not everyone is affected by the post-festival depression. The rest of the class glare at her, obviously thinking the same thing I am. Misha still frozen in the doorway with her arms still in the air, nervously looks around. It's obvious that she senses the foul mood but can't work out exactly what to do. Suddenly she jerks forward. Hey! As she stumbles into the classroom, she reveals Shizune, arms still extended from where she shoved Misha. Thanks for the entertainment, but should you two take your seats? Still slightly embarrassed, Misha takes a few seconds to realize she has to translate. Oh yeah, Sai-chan says she's not happy with you ditching us last week. We didn't ditch you, you tried to rudely introduce us to your realm of reality. We were really busy. Is that so? What about stuff I already did for you two? She says that only counts for council members. Since she declined, she doesn't owe you anything. Well, we don't owe you anything either. Misha leans close and whispers conspiratorially into my ear. Actually, I think she's just a little sore that you didn't spend the day with her. Well, that goes to show that you're a lot like a certain character from Student Union with green hair. She's really thankful for your work last week, though. Sensing that she is being talked about, Shizune lightly wraps her fingers on her desk until Misha turns around to face her. I can't understand any of the fast-paced signing that's going on, but from Shizune's slightly embarrassed expression to Misha's poorly contained laughter, I can guess. While this exchange is happening, the door opens once again, but this time at a much more reasonable pace and probably by a more earnest personnel. Oh, it's by Hanako. Hanako quietly enters the room and pulls the door closed behind her. Peering out from under her hair, she quickly scans the classroom. Our eyes meet, and she suddenly stiffens. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and then walks over to my desk. Hello. Good morning, Hisao. Morning, Hanako. You're a little late, aren't you? I was talking to Lily. About today. Ah, so you've got her list then. We can leave straight after classes in that case. Sure. I'm looking forward to it. Hanako briefly flashes her embarrassed smile at me, then hurries off to her seat. Ah. Misha would be like, You've got something on there, haven't you, Hisao? I see you've gotten more comfortable with the one that doesn't really speak. Or something along those lines. During class, it becomes apparent that it's not only the students that are a little despondent after the festival. Our wonderful teacher is as well. Muto simply gives us a list of exercises from the textbook and then sits behind his desk. I totally forgot about the brief lunch period for a moment. Such is the banality of the day. It's mind-numbing, and everyone seems surprised when the bells signal the end of the lessons. As I'm packing up my bag, Shizune and Misha flunk and entrap me. Excuse me? Sai-chan, it's still not too late to join up. There's a lot of post-festival paperwork for us to complete. Sorry, Misha. I've got plans. As if sensing the cue, Hanako appears behind me holding a small bag and trying to avoid eye contact with the outside world. Misha's eyes open wide when she bursts into laughter. You move fast, don't you, Hai-chan? We won't disturb your date any It's just a trip out with a friend. It's not called a date. Behind the roaring Misha, I see Shizune taking far too little interest in the scene. I might be taking this the wrong way, but I think she's deliberately ignoring me. I feel a gentle tug on my shirt and turn to see Hanako's eyes fixed firmly on the floor. Let's... Gotcha. Shizney, Misha, I'll see you later. And I'm still not interested in the council. Sport. Misha and Shizney retreat into the hallway, happily signing to each other. Got all your stuff? Let's head off. Floods of students pour out of the school's gate and onto the road into town. It's a little weird. So, from without a question of shadow of doubt, this is Hanako's route. It's almost a scene from any other high school, but the illusion fades because of the occasional wheelchair or missing limb. One thing I do notice is that nobody's alone. And as Hanako and I pass through the gates, I notice that she closed the distance between us. Not enough to be considered close, but she certainly isn't at her usual just as far position. I guess we're not familiar enough for her to get as close as she does with Lily. However, even though she has moved a little close to me physically, mentally she seems to have travelled a mile. Her hands clutched around the leather straps of her bag to a point of whitening her knuckles, her head down, her mouth pursed closed. She almost looks like she's been walked to the principal's office for the first time. I try to stifle a giggle at the thought, but it is futile. What's the matter? I guess there's no point in hiding it. Sorry. For a second there, it looks like you were getting into trouble. In trouble? What do you mean? I think you need to relax a little. We're not going too far. And it's only students around, right? Right. It bothers me a little to see Hanako so worked up. And you do this every week, don't you? Yes, with Lily. Of course, yeah. The with Lily part is the most important part of the sentence. I wonder, has she ever left the school without her? It doesn't seem like much at first glance, but Hanako's dependence on Lily is absurdly heavy. If she can't even handle leaving the school without her, how would she have managed to survive if the two had never met? Would she have found someone else to latch on to? And what drew her to Lily? Was it her lack of eyesight, or was Lily just kind enough to lend a hand? I would say it's an amalgamation of both. But I think the incredibly initial part is the fact of the lack of eyesight, which is a very heinous thing to think about. But of course it is the initial opening, and then from there it is the warmth of Lily herself. I wonder if anyone would have fit the bill. Well, I'm here. Besides, we're not going far. It'll be over before you know it. Hanako's knuckles slowly regain their colour as she tries to hold a small smile, but the effort of that seems to prevent further conversation. We travel side by side down the winding road towards the town. The crowd of students thins as we continue along the sidewalk. Faster students rush ahead, and the less mobile ones fall behind, rarefying the crowd into nothingness. Never heard of that word before. By the time we reach the convenience store, we are practically alone. Using me as a shield between herself and me, Lieutenant Hanako moves through the narrow aisles, adding an assortment of items to her basket. Bread, milk, tea, thyme? What kind of convenience store sells herbs? Well, this is a one-of-a-kind convenience store. Then again, nothing about this town seems normal, which may not be such a bad thing in retrospect. There we go. Everything is so different and uncomfortable. Dwelling on such matters isn't really an option. When I think about that, it reminds me of Hanako. No matter how much you try, you can't escape her scars. They still interrupt my train of thought when I see them. You shouldn't let them interrupt your train of thought. That should not be the defining feature of Hanako. Her personality should be the defining feature. Her kindness, her charm. Anyways, let's move on. As much as I don't want to admit it myself, I think I'm forcing myself to try to ignore them. Not that I am scar-free myself, the jagged line down my sternum will never completely fade away. I just have the luxury of being able to hide it easily. But, in a way, both of our scars remind me that we're all in this place for a reason. Hanako throws one last item into her basket, but sheepishly holds it out to me, along with a few banknotes. Could you please? Aha, it takes me a second to understand what she's trying to say. Don't worry, we've got this. Oh, you want me to pay for this? She nods but doesn't look up. I guess this task falls to Lily on the usual occasions. Sure, let me just grab a couple of things. Hastily I grab a few essential items for myself and head for the counter of Hanako and close toe. The attendant gives me an indifferent look as he scans in the items. I suppose just ignoring us is one way to deal with the anomalies of Yamako. They must get a lot of students here, being the closest door to the school. The staff must all have their own way of dealing with us, or maybe they don't. Maybe it's only me who thinks twice about my unique schoolmates. Our transaction complete, Hanako and I head back out onto the street. The road is pretty much abandoned now. The students that were heading out have already left and nobody has started returning just yet. Although it's going clothes shopping. And so with only the school ahead of the road, there doesn't seem to be anyone else around. The emptiness certainly reflects on Hanako, her arms by her sides each carrying a bag, her head no longer bowed, and back to the upright position. It's almost as if she were enjoying this walk. So, why all these weird things? Mixed spice? Why would you need that in school? I sometimes like to make food. Well, yeah, so do I, but spices? Yeah, you need spices to make certain dishes, don't you now? That's a little more advanced, don't you think? Not really. It depends on your cooking skills. But I think it's cool. You'll have to teach me one day. Sure. She doesn't seem all that sure, but pushing the point doesn't seem all that wise exactly. At the very least, she seemed a great deal happier than she did on the walk down here. That alone makes me a little happier. Indeed-roonies. Outside the girls' dorm, Hanako and I sort out the grocery bags of our retrospective purchases. In comparison, my things look positively plain. I tell you, you're putting me to shame here. No, I'm not. I'm only joking. This is a very expressive Hanako right here. Mouth open and stuff like that. I have a stack of homework that I skipped last week, so I must leave now. Will you be alright getting back in your room, sorry? Yeah. Sure. Okay then. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. We part ways and I return to my room. Piles of papers sit upon my desk, begging to be completed. With the entire ruckus of the last week, I've barely had any time to catch up. I try to keep up with my studies while I was in the hospital, but some of this stuff I've never seen before, even back in my old school. Totally unprepared, I pop the top of a can of drink and get to work. The days are really starting to heat up. Oh gosh, it's summer coming in. We're already in summer, even though it doesn't really feel like summer at the moment, which is nice. This morning I awoke covered in sweat. By the time the student body starts leaving their dorms for breakfast and morning duties, the sun has taken full effect. Already this puts me in high spirits. Well, with the sun out, we get that vitamin D and feel happier. It's not even 8, yet I feel that this day is going to be one of those pleasant, tranquil, warm ones. If I weren't at a school that considered every absence from class a sign of a life-threatening situation, I'd consider skipping the whole day and just relaxing in the school gardens. No, do not slack. Yes, today will be a genuinely lazy day. For a second I stop in mid-stretch and consider the nurse's warning about exercise. Maybe I should have kept up those morning jogs. Running with someone like Emmy might have been a little testing, but if I worked at my own pace, who am I kidding? I couldn't stick to something like that without some kind of motivation. It's not like I sit around all day. The walk to and from the convenience store counts as exercise, right? Especially walk back up the hill, yes. Yeah, it's no big deal. Compared to months lying in a hospital bed, I'm getting plenty exercise. It seems that I'm not alone in my appreciation of the day. Nearly every member of the class is glancing through the window and into the tantalizing sky. Even the steadfast Shizney seems to lack her usual vigor for schoolwork. Misha's brazen zebra has even unbuttoned the top buttons of her shirt, and is fanning herself with a notebook. I must have been staring as she's now sticking her tongue out at me. Smart one, Hisao, smart one. However, she shows no signs of halting her efforts, nor is she trying to hide the fact. The lunch bells seem to catch everyone by surprise, and the class empties at a much slower pace than usual. The heat seems to be draining the need to rush from everyone. Well, almost everyone. What, is Emmy rushing around? Hi, Sal? Hey there, Hanako. What can I do for you today? Hanako already has a lunch bag in hand. I don't have to be a detective to work out where this is going. Would you like to have lunch with us again? I brought enough for everyone. Ah, awesome. You don't have to be so stiff about it, though. Oh, right. I take it we're going to the tea room? Please. Lily said she'll meet us in there, so we should get there? Should go ahead together. Sounds like a plan. This heat has made me pretty hungry. Usually I'll be pretty thirsty. Hanako breathes a sigh of relief, and I gather my things together. As usual, the aura of the tea room is refreshing. Feeling isolated from the rest of the world is a loving thing. Then again, the usual den of the school seems to be a bit subdued, most likely from laziness promoted by heat exhaustion. Hanako slowly spreads her food on the table, intently focused on every little movement, as if she's trying to keep her mind off of other thoughts. It's not much, but I can tell from her demeanor that she has prepared everything with utmost care. I guess Lily isn't here yet. Should we start without her? She'll be here soon. Hanako struggles with the lid of a container of rice. Here, let me help you with that. I take the container from Hanako's hands and try to force open the lid. Try as I might, it seems wedged shut. Let me guess. Oh, that's bad, because the steam sucks it in. Did you put this in while the rice was still hot? Yes, I was in a rush. I put the container on the table between us. I thought so. It looks like this is wedged shut. We need some hot water to get it open. But that could be a pain in here. We'd get water everywhere. Well, in that case, how about I contribute to today's meal? Hello, Lily. At the door, Lily smiles while holding up a bag stocked with various buns and bread rolls. I can't help but do the same. Since you two had a change of plans because of me, I thought I would bring a little something. Thanks, Lily. Here, let me get that for you. With a little guidance, Lily's bread assortment joins Hanako's riceless platter. I hastily make some tea to complete the picture. Well, I'm looking forward to this. As I take a bite, I notice Hanako trying her hardest to not look like she is looking at me. Aww. It's nothing special, but then again, I can't really complain. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to cooking for myself. Not bad. I guess this is made with the stuff you brought yesterday? Yes. Hanako's eyes shoot at me, begging for some kind of feedback. Well, it was clearly worth it. Thanks, Hanako. I wanted to show you this after yesterday. It's okay. I was just a little surprised at the stuff you were buying. Hanako's always liked to experiment when it comes to food. I think it's good most of the time. What's with the pauses, Lily? While Lily's smile doesn't waver, the slight change in her tone tells me that things have not gone so well in the past. Could have been like Lily was Hanako's guinea pig, and it's not like Hanako has many people to sample her cooking. Hang on, was Lily waiting for me to go first? She didn't start eating until after I said it was alright. Her cheeky grin tells me that this was a deliberate action on her part. I'll have to try and work out how to get one over her in the future to make up for this. Well, it's good, and that's all that counts, right? Right. Lily, satisfied at not being the first to sample Hanako's creation, begins to consume the food in front of her. I find myself staring as I watch her chopsticks gently touch the plate, their tips delicately poking and tracing to quickly ascertain the positions of the food as she dexterously picks it up. One might think she was a child playing with her food if not for the situation, though she does it with such care and thoughtlessness that it's obvious this is simply how she eats this kind of meal. Not wanting to miss out, I'll start filling up myself. Hanako takes a different approach. Wait until Lily and I have our hands clear before quickly snatching up a share. Okay. Before long, the containers are empty, save for the still shut rice container. Thank you, Hanako. That was filling. No, thank you for the bread. Yes, it would have been a disaster if not for that. Are you saying that Haniko's rice is a disaster? How dare you? No, it's just the fact that the container is wedged shut. You don't put it in while it's still cooling down because the steam on it allows the container itself to be more sealed. You're both welcome. But now I must be getting back. It's far too easy to be late after eating here. Well, yeah, I see what you mean. I think we'll just clean up here and then head off. Well then, good day. Thanks, Lily. Lily leaves, her cane tapping away down the quiet hallway. Is Lily mad at us for now splitting Hanako's attention? Hanako and I quickly pack our things and stay seated waiting for the bell. Together we stare out the window and into the endless azure sky. If it weren't for the pealing of the bells, I would have sworn that time had stopped. The urge to skip class rises in my gut. Don't skip class! I should have glanced at Hanako, who shows no signs of moving either. Not just yet. The interval between the warning bells and the end of lunch bells passes in the blink of an eye. We really should go. People will freak out and start a search party if we skip. Hanako sighs. You're right. Slowly she rises to her feet and I follow suit. Silently we make our way up the old stairs to the third floor and then to our classroom. At the door, I take point and open the door ahead of Hanako, bowing my head down. Apologies in advance. I'm sorry you're late, teacher. I am greeted not by stern words, nor by angered instructions to take my seat, but simply by the silence created by 15 or so students trying not to laugh. Muto, ever tardy, has yet to arrive. However, the fact that Hanako and I have arrived together is blatantly obvious. Make there about 14 students trying and 1 student failing. The lovers return! Misha, do you know how embarrassing this is, for goodness sakes? Yeah, thanks, you can calm down now. I step through the door and realise that Hanako is firmly pressed against my back, hiding herself from the class. It's okay. With my steps coming close to my desk, she eventually breaks with me and stiffly walks her own. Her efforts to mentally block everyone's presence from her mind are written fairly clearly on her face. Quickly checking the door for any signs of a teacher's arrival, I make a trip to Hanako's desk and whisper in her ear. Don't worry about Misha. She's always like this. I enjoyed myself today. Don't sweat it, okay? Hanako nods, her head behind her folded arms, but still doesn't show her face. I yearn to stay and console her more, but Muto picks at the exact moment to enter the classroom halfway through his lecture as he started it in the hallway. Which, of course, is directly proportional to the charge, but inversely proportionally to the square of the distance. He's so engrossed in his speech that he doesn't even notice me sneaking back into my seat from Hanako's desk. While Muto's spiral rambles on, Misha leans over to me. The teacher may not have noticed your tardiness, but I did. That much is obvious from the show you just put on. I have been instructed to let you off the hook for today, but only on one condition. Oh, and what would that be? Does it involve the student council? No! I crane my neck to look over Misha's shoulder. She is conveniently not making eye contact with me. Fine, just for today. I've already told you I'm not joining the council, remember? Of course, doing so could be considered. She looks down at her notebook, obviously looking for her place in a script. Under duress and hence would be against regulations. How very strange of you to be considerate of the regulations now. Things should be done by the book. If that's what you call cooking, then that is very plain and boring, because the most important part of cooking is to be creative and imaginative with what you do with your cooking and baking. It's just that the book hasn't been written for every situation, so there are times where it can be, when it can be ignored, or it's not abided by because there's nothing written in it for that particular scenario. And yet you two wonder why no one else wants to be in the student council. After poking his hand out at me, Misha returns to her workbook, and we battle our way through the latter half of the school day. Oh dear, before I can even stand up, Misha and Shizney have placed their hands on both my shoulders. Hey, I said to help out, damn! It's just insurance, Hisao. Insurance. Hisao? Hanako timidly tries to leave the room by circling around us, and I suddenly realise that this may be my one chance to escape. Oh hey Hanako, what's up? Hey, what makes you think you've got time to chat? Oh relax, this won't take long. Sorry Hanako, what are you saying? I was going to the library and I thought... Hanako's thumbs danced around each other and her eyes flicked around the room, looking everywhere but at us. Sorry Hanako, but Hisao has to come with us, he's got work to do. Oh, but you can help too if you'd like. So how about it, Hisao? I've done enough work for the goddamn council already. I do not care at the very slightest, okay? You two can report to the teacher. I've done enough work for the council already. Hey Shizney, I know I said I help, but I forgot I've already made plans. Besides, I helped up more than my fair share last week, didn't I? I promise to make it up to you some other time. Shizney and Misha release their grip on me and have a long, deep and silent conversation. Well, you have a point there. To be honest, we were only going to spend the rest of the budget on cakes. So if you're not there, it works out better. More cake for us. It don't matter. Shizney about faces and marches out the door, and Misha skips out after her. Well, that's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Last week the two were like bloodhounds or prison guards. Or maybe prison guards bred from bloodhounds. That joke nearly killed me. I can't believe I just thought that, let alone saying it out loud. I think I need to move away from Kenji. Never mind. Anyway, should we go to the library? Sure. Yeah. Hanako follows me through the still crowded halls to the library, using me as a shield. Hello. As soon as we are through the door, Hanako bolts to the counter where Yuko is stacking books. Before I can catch up, Hanako has whispered something to her. You'd find that in non-fiction, but I don't know where exactly. If you want, I can look it up. Never mind. Hey Yuko, what's all this about? Oh hi Sal. Hanako is just looking for a book on... nothing. A book on nothing? In the non-fiction section? That's real embarrassing, Hisao. There's obviously a book on something. It can't be a book on nothing. Otherwise, the book's pages will be completely blank. It's a blank cover with nothing on the pages. 1,000 pages on nothing. Welcome to the Harry Potter saga. I should have glanced at Yuko. She looks like she's about to burst from the pressure of keeping Hanako's request secret. I haven't actually read the Harry Potter books, by the way. Yuko, what did... Chess! She's looking for a chess book. I'll make a note of book to never entrust Yuko with any important information. Yuko? I'm sorry, Hanako, it just slipped out. Well, it's not a secret anymore. Come on, I'll give you a hand. I really should brush up on my skills, too. Okay. I think Hanako wanted this to be a surprise. Yuko disappears behind the counter in shame as Hanako and I wander into the depths of the non-fiction section. I know there is supposed to be a system for categorizing these books, but I don't see how anyone can decipher it without spending half of their life researching it. That's probably why all the librarians are now neurotic. Towards the end of the aisle, between a book on card tricks and some book on kids' games, stands a single book bearing the title Chess Tactics for Champions. Before I could reach her, Hanako has the book in her hands, clutching it to her chest. Well, I guess it's yours, man. Mind if I borrow it when you're finished? Sure. I just haven't really played against anyone but Lily before, so I thought... Damn, it's not like I was trying to beat Hanako deliberately or anything, but she seems to have taken it to heart. Then again, at least this means she wants to play me again. That's a plus, right? Well, it's not like I'm a master or anything. I just played a bit before. It occurs to me that I haven't told Hanako about my condition. I faltered for a second, deciding to cover my tracks. This is a conversation for another day. Before I came here. Are you alright? Yeah, I was just remembering something. When I think about it, I shouldn't be afraid to tell Hanako about my condition and my time in the hospital. Judging by her scars, she probably spent a fair amount of time in a hospital bed. But for some reason I can't bring it up. At least not today, and not on short notice. Eager to break off the conversation, I grab a random book from the shelf. It's some book on the world's fastest roller coasters, published in 1982. Well, not very up to date, but it should at least be interesting. Well, we both got books now. Shall we go sit down? Hanako seems to accept my bluff, and we head to the reading nook in the back of the library. Neither of us say a word, we simply open our books and start reading. I try to read my book, but it would seem that in 1982 roller coasters weren't nearly as large as ones built in the decades since. Most of the ones listed are made of wood. Something about that doesn't seem safe to me. No, not at all. If we're going to ride on something potentially dangerous, I want it made out of steel, or some kind of space-age alloy that has big words like titanium and ruthenium. I quickly lose interest and my eyes wander across the reading area to rest on Hanako. Hanako seems absorbed in the book, flickering back and forth through the pages, as if confirming what she just read. I wonder if that's actually effective, or is she just overloading herself? She unconsciously brushes her hair from her face, temporarily revealing her scar tissue. I'm still not sure about the protocol here. Is it right to ask her about her scars, or her past? How long was she in the hospital? Does she still visit the doctor? I think if you're willing to open up to somebody else's conditions in this case, then you should at the very least open up your own first, because you're the inquisitive one with the requisition of asking about somebody else's potentially sensitive information of that nature. These all seem like the questions that you'd ask someone who just transferred to your school, translated into the local language. But, to date, no one has directly asked me any of them. Well, except Rin, but I don't think I should use her as a guide to proper social behaviour. For the time being, I'll just keep my mouth shut. If someone wants you to know something, then they'll tell you. Trying to force the issue might drive Hanako back into herself, which is not a good thing. Not a good thing whatsoever. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to close the library now. Already? I checked my watch. Some hours I lost in thought, nearly 2 hours have passed. Do you want to check out those books? I can do it on my way out. Please? I'm done. I'll drop this one back on the way through. It wasn't as interesting as I first thought. Hanako marks her place with a slip of paper and stands up. You really need a bookmark. I think if it was ever her birthday, we'll get her a very nice looking bookmark. The girls head to the counter and I return my book to what I think is the right shelf. Yuko scans Niko's book with practiced precision, yet still manages to fumble it. Oh, there we go. Third time lucky. How long have you been working here? Since this is a non-fiction book, you can only have it for a week. That's okay. Yuko shuts down the library's computer and herds us out of the door. Herds us? We're not sheep. Or lambs. I didn't think it was this late already. But you're the one that told us you had to close. Yes, but I know that. That was before I looked at the time. I'll see you later. Yuko bolts down the hall, her handbag trained behind her like an awkward streamer. Fourth wall breaking. Were there even large streamers back in the day when this game was being produced? Like, I think streamers and Let's Players have only been really prevalent throughout the last decade. I guess all librarians really are neurotic. Huh? Never mind. I was just thinking I've never met a librarian that can organise their time, no matter how good they are with their books. Oh, I know what you mean. Hanako smiles in amusement. It wasn't meant to be a joke, but I must remind her of some other librarian. Or something. I have to get back. Yeah, me too. I didn't realise it was this late. Thanks for letting me hang out with you. No problem. I'm going to my dormitory room now anyway, so do you mind if I tag along? Okay. Hanako sets off ahead of me, and I need to jog a little to reach her side. We walk through the gardens, eventually arriving in front of the dorm buildings. Man, you walk pretty fast. I used to play in a soccer club, and you managed to outpace me. I kind of regret saying that it has less to do with her pace than with the fact that my condition has significantly worsened my fitness. Haniko's reaction is odd. I expect an awkward attempt to downplay her walking speed, but she just blushes while looking at her feet and smiling. Silence hangs in the air between us. That happens often around Hanako, but feels slightly different than usual this time. After a few seconds, I try to break the silence. Here you go. See you in class tomorrow. Sure. Hanako waves a short goodbye before pushing her way through the dorm's doors. I stand and look at them for a while before making my way to my own dormitory room. Are you having any more thoughts, Hisao? Chirping birds. Normally this would be a good time to reflect upon the beauty of nature, but it is 6 a.m. Covering my head with a pillow, I slam my face into the mattress, hoping that the impact will send me instantly back to sleep. Futile. I toss and turn, but sleep simply won't return to me. Well, if you're feeling frustrated, you don't sleep at all. Alright, Nate, you've won. See? I'm getting up now. The lack of sleep weighs my mind down, and there's only one remedy for this: a nice hearty breakfast. It would be nice to be the first person here, to be the first to dig into a piping hot pile of food, to sit wherever I desire. It would have been nice, but even my exceptionally early start has put me behind the most diligent students. I guess there are quite a few people that have early starts here, for one reason or another. A group of students in sports clothes huddle around one table, eagerly discussing game plans in between inhaling great gulps of food. Scattered around the hall are a number of bleary-eyed students probably suffering from the same ailment as myself. Noisy birds. And of course there are the people that actually enjoy getting up this early, the ones who have bags stuffed with textbooks and completed homework. It's hard not to despise people like that. Why? Why would you despise people like that? Even more so when you're tired yourself. Picking up a familiar face from the thin crowd, I head towards the nearest seat. Lily sits alone, delicately feeling her way around a small plate of eggs with a fork. It's almost a shame to interrupt her in her clockwork movements. I wonder, is this how a blind person zones out, simply moving in predetermined patterns learned over the years, just like how a sighted person would eat while reading a newspaper? Good morning, Lily. I didn't expect you to be here this early. Oh, hi, sir. You startled me. I didn't know you took breakfast this early. I don't. This is an exception to the rule. I'd greatly prefer to be late to school than early to breakfast. Lily gives a small sigh at my admitted tardiness as I begin eating my food. It doesn't take long for her to lapse back into her previous mindless nibbling. Each short motion lacks energy. I suppose this is similar to letting your eyes wander while performing an ordinary chore. But after a few repetitions of the find food, eat food cycle, Lily puts down her fork and dabs her lips with a napkin. Hi Sal, do you mind if I ask you a question? Damn, all I want is a little food and about 4 hours of sleep, and nobody says, can I ask you a question for a simple question? Sure. Do you think of Hanako as a friend? Hanako as a friend. This seems like a leading question. I guess so. Why'd you ask? No real reason. I do have another question, though. Why is it that you think of her as a friend? This is well above my level. What is she expecting from me? I'm not really sure. I guess it's because she's a little different in the way she deals with people. Since I've known her, she hasn't really connected with anyone. She doesn't seem interested in other people, and I think people are a little scared off by her appearance. Really? I thought that kind of thing was, well, discouraged here, discriminated and such. If I were to put it one way, she furrows her brow in thought. Furrows her brow, a move which makes me slightly anxious to what she's plucking from her mind. I'd say that you're a little naive. Naive? I'd be insulted if not for the slightly cynical grin on her face. I see. While Yamako has a stronger sense of community compared to other schools, it's far from being free of conflict. Rules cannot remove human nature after all, only suppress it. That is a good speech in itself. That's something I've noticed actually. Just little things, like how certain people and cliches avoid each other in the hallways. It's no different than my old school really. Even Lily and Shizney could be considered bitter rivals, even though they both seem like fairly accepting people. Well, at least the misattended Shizney does. Who knows what actually goes on with her fingers and behind her glasses. I guess you're right, but when I first came here, everything was a bit of a shock. I kept on making mistakes, or at least thinking I was making mistakes, like when we first met and I say, I see to you. I didn't know if it was considered rude or anything, so I just tried to put it in the back of my mind, treating people any differently and that kind of thing. So I told myself Hanako and you and everyone else was just normal, and I tried to ignore the obvious. I talked to Hanako as if she were any other person, and so we became friends. At least, that's how I think it happened. But you know, I feel guilty from just saying something like that aloud, as if it took extra effort to think of Hanako or you or anyone here as normal people. I don't think that's right. Hisao, I think you are naive, but I also think that you're a good person. It is perhaps one of your better traits. I suppose I can take that as a compliment. Tell me, are you free tonight? If you don't count homework, then I'm as free as the breeze. In that case, would you care to join myself and Hanako for tea? I don't really have much money at the moment, so going out isn't really... I don't mean going out, just here this evening. You can access the classrooms in the evening here? No, that's not what I meant. Hanako and I often use my room for tea parties together. Please feel free to drop by after dusk. Sure, I see no problem with that. What's your room number? 225. Room 25 on the second floor. Okay, sure. Well then, I'd best be off. I have a class representative duties to attend to, after all. Until this evening, Hisao? Yeah. Catch you later. Hang on. Did you only realise that just now? Was I just invited to a girl's room after hours? Is that even allowed? Well, if it's friends, then yeah. There is the curfew here, but I've never heard any rules about visitors in the dorm rooms. Even still, this is enough to get my sleep-deprived brain jump-started. Indeed. But don't think of anything dirty, okay? For goodness sakes, my man. Add that to a lukewarm breakfast and you have one hell of a pick-me-up. I grudgingly go to class, still a little excited at the prospect of breaking the rules. I feel a little like a kid planning to sneak out of his window at night. Well, maybe that's going a little too far, but when you compare an invitation to a party to 6 or so hours of lecture, I know which one wins. Misha and Shizney do little to relieve my boredom either. For once they seem determined to actually complete Muto's assignments. Cool, cool. Nevertheless, the day eventually winds to a close. And I hurry back to my room to wash up and comb my hair. Thankfully I don't run into Kenji. Before long, I am leaving the boys' dorm and going to the girls' dorm. I nervously tap on the door marked 225, checking my watch once again. Is that you, Hisao? The door is open. You can come in. Lily's voice lifts through the door and soothes my voices. What the hell? My nerves! Why do I hear voices? This is the first time I'm invited to a girl's room after dark. Even though I know there's no ulterior movement behind this invitation, it doesn't stop my mind running wild with possibilities. One guy, 2 girls in a dorm room with a tea set. I think the part with the tea set should make it set in stone that there's nothing icky going on here. When I put it like that, it sounds a little dodgy. What do you mean? Giving a small sigh to steady myself, I gingerly put my hand on the handle and opened the door, craning my head to see inside. It should just be a nice time with 2 friends, okay? And, aha, here we go. The door opens completely and I catch my first glimpse of Lily's room. I didn't mean to press off the screen there. Her furniture looks almost antique, but the bare walls and flat surfaces are barely decorated at all. In the center of the room sits a low table, where I see a small tea set at rest. It seems that everything in this room has its place, possibly excepting the several piles of books stacked up against the wall. My sense of vision isn't the only one to be stimulated. The faint smell of something can be picked up on the air. Nail polish, perfume, makeup. It's hard to describe in any way other than girly. My eyes finish a quick sweep of the room before returning their position onto the bouquet. Lily sits next to the small table wearing very dark blue pajamas with shorts that show up plenty of her alluring build. Opposite her, Hanako sits adorned in a conservatively light pink gown. Her hands are firmly fixed between her legs, her shoulders forward, and her head down as if trying to hide herself in it. It would be easier for her to do. It looks about 2 sizes too big for her. I think there's a pretty good reason why they're too big. I think it means that there's more room to allow her to fit in it more quickly. Waves of flannel flow from her frame, making her look like a child playing dress up in her parents' clothes. She looks up to confirm my identity, and the beginnings of a thin smile creep across her face before vanishing so fast I can't be sure they ever were there. There's no point in you standing in the doorway, Hisao. Hey, I'm not in the... Anyways, I take a step into the room, closing the door behind me. My. I'm afraid this really is a small room for the 3 of us. Would you like to take a seat? I slowly walk to the table and sit down, trying my hardest not to disturb anything along the way. I also can't help but steal a quick glance into... No! To be robbed of sight would be a most terrible fate. Well now, how about some tea, Hanako? Could you please pour? Sure, I shall... Would you like? I would love some tea. Do you need a hand? No, I'm fine. Thank you. Lily finds it difficult to resist a smile at her companion's nervousness, something I can't really blame her for. Been a tiring day? Yeah. I relax at my place, opposite of the cabinet. To my left there's the blue-clad Lily, and to my right sits the pink Hanako. The tea set on the table looks cute as well as practical, painted red with a floral motif. It looks odd when contrasted with Lily's plain but generously sophisticated looking furniture, which leads me to think that Hanako might have picked it out. Do you think so? There's a slight ting when Hanako actually clips the teapot on a cup as she is pouring. She breathes in sharply. She must be really nervous, as it's not the kind of thing anyone would be worried about. My bad. Hanako quivers at her mistake. It's okay, Hanako. There's no need to be nervous. Hanako seems to find some confidence in Lily's reassuringly soft-spoken words, and deftly pours the next 2 cups. Here you are, Hisao, Lily. Hanako carefully placed the cup and saucer in front of Lily and myself. I could get used to service like this. Don't think of it like that. Thank you, Hanako. Yeah, thanks. You're welcome. Lily searches for her cup, and upon finding it, sips delicately. I do the same. This tea tastes somewhat better than the tea we usually have at the school. This is nice. It's so different from any tea I've had before. Looks like you picked the right one, Hanako. You've done well, even if it was a bold move. Hanako's smile returns, redoubled. Even with her blighted face, her shy smile couldn't be called anything but cute. Aww. I'm glad you like it. Hanako finally begins to relax, sips from her cup. Something about this makes me think about Lily's question at breakfast. Why am I friends with Hanako? Lily seems generally concerned for Hanako's well-being, but it's not like I can do anything to help her. As far as I can tell, her scars don't hold her back physically, and everyone I've met seems to have overcome their disabilities to some extent. I don't have any ulterior motives to hang out with Hanako. We just share similar interests. Isn't that enough? So, Hisao, are you enjoying yourself? Lily's words break me out of my reverie, and I take a second to reconsider where I am. I'm in a room with two girls and their There's something to be enjoying. Come on, man. Yeah, it's relaxing. Almost like I'm not in the school anymore. Do you do this often? Quite often, but not as often as we make tea in the school building. Considering they do that nearly every day, that's not a big surprise. As I move to take another sip from my teacup, I find it sadly empty. That was delicious. Thank you, Hanako. Lily. You're welcome. Yes, you're most welcome, Hisao. It's nice to have a third person here. Well, anytime you need someone to fill that position, I'm always available. Always. Even when I'm flooded with homework, I'm always available. One must be sure to get one's point across in these circumstances, but don't try to be too forceful, otherwise you may make those two feel uncomfortable. Lily lets loose a yawn, which she unsuccessfully hides with her hand. Pardon me, I think I'm a little tired. I think we're all a little tired. My, how astute we are tonight, Hanako. We really should head to bed. We all have class tomorrow. Yeah, I should go. Thank you for your presence. There you go, Hisao. Thanks. You'll come again? Not even a whole army could stop me. I'm impressed by your determination, Hisao. Either way, you're right. We'd best get going. I stand up and make for the door. Hisao gingerly stands up behind me. I stop and face her. Are you coming with me? What is this now? Hanako instantly blossoms into full blush. No, not this room isn't. It's okay, I was only joking. Okay, good night. Good night, Hanako. Good night, Hisao. Night all. And with that, our tea party finishes. It wasn't that long, but it was probably the most soothing and relaxing and gentle parties that we've ever had in this game so far. Rather than the huge wild parties that we'd have with Misha and Shizune, or the jogging around the school premises with Emmy, or the confusing ones with Rin in whatever they would be as parties in Atelier. I'm still not sure what it is that Lily wants me to do for Hanako, but I don't want to let her down. I'll wait until the door is closed behind us before turning to Hanako. Hey Hanako, you don't have to be nervous around me or anything. I mean, we're friends, right? Right, we're friends. If you ever want to hang out or anything, just let me know. We still need to have that chess rematch, remember? Sure. But I don't think you'll win. That's not the point about playing a game. Playing a game is the most important thing of the factor of having fun. And right now I'm having a lot of fun playing this game. It wouldn't be any fun if it was easy. Hanako seems to give a muted laugh, but she could have just as easily been exhaling. Good night, Hisao. With that, Hanako quickly retreats into her room, located next to Lily's. I start to walk back to my dorm, but the simple act of walking seems to drain me of my energy. I barely make it to my room before I am hit by a wave of exhaustion. I kick off my shoes, fall into bed and fall asleep by the time my head hits the pillow. Badonk. Well, I think, folks, that is where we're going to end off this adventure in this time around. Definitely Hanako's route, and definitely a very striking sort of theme when it comes to this sort of theme. I say striking because it is completely the opposite of what Hanako would be doing, and that would be to shy away from others other than Lily. But in some hypothetical scenario like this one, she has opened up to Hisao, whether it's because Hisao is on friendly terms with Lily, or by the fact that Hisao was incredibly considerate of Hanako and her kind of worries, needs, and stuff like that. But anyways, folks, we'll be back on this game in the next time around. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you all in the next time with Katawa Shoujo. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.